All right, welcome everybody. So today we are talking about our new Slack integration that we have going on. My name is Roderick Ripley, and I will be presenting today. I'll take you through kind of the purpose or design so far of this new feature, kind of give you some tips on how to use it and set it up and all that good stuff. And hopefully that will give you some good info to go back to your teams and let them know kind of what's new and happening with Workamajig. And of course, give us some feedback afterward once you've started using it to let us know what you think. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get my screen share going here now. Hang on one moment. All right, hopefully we all should be seeing my screen. I'm just going to move something around here real quick. Perfect. So with today's topic of being regarding Slack, we now have an integration, if you will, or extension into the Slack API, which means we are able to take project conversations and then have a way to have those go into your Slack application. So that way you can kind of continue the conversation over there, see some certain things, and even take you back into Workamajig from Slack. So a lot of cool ins and outs. Of course, the idea is that we want to keep you in Workamajig. Here at Workamajig, we love our product, so we want to make sure that you're still able to use it to its full extent, and that Slack is more of kind of a helping tool more than anything else. But definitely, the goal, of course, is to get back into Workamajig, update your tasks and time and all that good stuff. Okay, so having said all that, so we do have a help guide here. Go to support.workamajig.com. You can just do a search for Slack. The heading of this guide is called Project Conversations to Slack. Keep in mind that this is currently in labs, or better yet, will go into actually, no, it's already in labs as of the November update. I just know there's a couple of fixes or enhancements already planned for the December update, but nothing too much to really stop us from showing what we have here today. So once you open up this guide, for example, it does have some headings. It'll take you through kind of like what we call like a pre-setup, how to set up things on the Slack side, set up things on the Workamajig side, the user setup within Workamajig, the project setup in Workamajig, and then of course, finally, okay, let's start, utilizing the features and send those conversations to Slack. There's also some commands within Slack that you can utilize to pull information down, to your Slack channel and, get back into Workamajig as well. So a little quick rundown here. I'm going to scroll through this guide kind of quickly, just to let you know that, hey, if you want to get into the details, feel free to open this up and run through it. Now, there is some pre-setup information to know because you want to be an administrator in Workamajig. You also want to be an administrator or owner of the Slack workspace, not just Slack overall, but the specific workspace that you're connecting to. So those are going to be kind of something you want to have more of an admin type person do this setup for you. Within the Slack side of things, we have some screenshots here, how to get to your Workamajig setup, I'm sorry, how to get, I call it Workamajig here, how to get to your Slack channel settings, how to get, information about a certain Slack channel, kind of run through there just to verify that you're an admin of that Slack channel. Kind of scroll down a little bit more, you can see, there's, can be a workspace admin or a primary owner. Those are one of the key indicators. You need to be at least one of those to do this kind of initial connection here. Scroll through a little bit more, you kind of connect through a default channel. Doesn't necessarily matter. This won't be used beyond this purpose. So you can either create a new channel or use an existing one that's already there. Like I believe when you're in Slack, if I hop over my Slack interface real quick, you already kind of get one called like, I think general or something like that. So you can just even use that one and really if you want to. On the Workamajig side, you would have to have, again, administrator access. So you'd have this section here in the system setup connections, add the Slack API. So in this screenshot, obviously it's blurred out, but once you have that populated, that would tell you that, okay, you got it connected. So the easiest way to really set this up is to have both your Workamajig open in a browser tab and also access the Slack application through the browser tab. So I know there is a Slack application you can install on your desktop and phone. That's great. You can most certainly use that, but I would suggest for the purpose of getting it set up and connected, it's easier to just have everything in the same browser, because in that way, when you click certain links, it'll take you back and forth without having to go to a separate application. So just some little feedback there. Let me show you here in Workamajig. You would go into your system setup. You go into your connections, and it would be Slack API, and you can see just click add to Slack, and that would populate this with their Slack key. For any reason, you could remove this and start over, or if you need to just turn off the feature for whatever reason, you can do that. All right, back to our guide here. So it just kind of runs you through the connection pages. Running through down a little bit more, you can see if you were to click that button brand new, a new screen will open up in your browser, and you'll see, oh, hey, just confirm that you're connecting to this default channel, and then you should get an successful authorization. So I've already connected it, so I'm not going to be able to get these screens again easily. So feel free to follow this guide to really get that going. And again, you'll start seeing that authentication token showing up in the API screen. Once you have that confirmed, what you'll need to then do is do this user setup. So what that means is you're going to need to go into your Slack profile and look for this thing called like member ID or Slack ID or whatever it's called. And sometimes I feel like it's moved around on me a little bit here. So sometimes the screenshots may be a little tricky, but here's my profile up here in my upper right. I believe it's under the profile here. And I'm trying to remember, they kind of keep moving. So like this, yeah, so either some of the screenshots are from the application or from an older version, but you can see there's copy member ID. So you would copy this member ID. If you're just a regular user and not the administrator, what you'd want to do is copy your member ID, put it into like a notepad or an email and send that to your administrator. What your administrator will then do, let me go back over here, is you'd go into your employee records. And within your employee records, let's open up an employee record here real quick. You're going to see Slack member ID as a field, and that's where you would populate it. We hope to make this maybe a little bit easier. Maybe we'll make it where individual users can update their own ID through their profile or something. We kind of still playing around with this and seeing how clients want to use this and how open they want to make things. But currently, each user will need to get their Slack member ID pasted into like again, send it to your administrator as an email or something like that, so they can populate and update your employee records as such. Hopefully that is clear enough there. So again, copy that out of Slack, put it into your employee record. Next step is per project. So we have kind of all the base done. We have the connection, the API connection going. We have all of our users set up with matching Slack member IDs. And then at this point, now we can actually start creating projects, and you'll start seeing an option here, a new option called Add Slack Channel. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up. I had a project already ready to go, and of course I closed it. Let me look for where I just created it. Hang on one moment. Of course, I closed what I had open. So let me open up my project. All right, so here's a brand new project I created. So for example, you're going to see, Slack channel, and it says add Slack channel. So when you have a new project, first thing you're going to want to do is click on add Slack channel. So this is something you want to have communicating back and forth. We click add Slack channel. It's doing its thing. It says Slack channel has been created. Now, if I go over to my Slack application, we should show this appear within a few moments. Let me see, this one was Tesco. Oh, so what I'll show you kind of force it is if I click on, once you say Slack channel, it gets replaced with a link for that channel. You can actually click it, and it'll actually open up your new tab. Now it's going to want to say, do you want to open this up in the browser? I'm going to say cancel. I'm going to say just open this up in my browser here. And so this actually takes you right to the Slack channel from that project and opens it right up. So we can see, okay, this was created using the Workamajig Slack, and it is ready to go. Now down here, it says join channel. So that's why it wasn't appearing in my list yet, because I haven't joined it. So back in Workamajig here, I can click, okay, well, let me add myself to this channel. So I can click add myself, and now that part goes away. And then that would show, yeah, I already got some messages popping up on my screen here that you can't see, that says I just got added to it. So I'm now a member of the Slack channel. There we go. So it says I've joined. Let me go back to Workamajig here. Now that's just adding yourself. So everybody can click on that, add myself. But if you have all of your users set up and everybody's kind of utilizing this functionality, what you can actually do is you can go to the team of your project. And at the top of the project team, you're going to see a Slack icon. And when you hover over it, it says add the entire team to the Slack channel. So you can say, okay, let me just add everybody. I don't need to just go one by one or add myself. Let me add everybody. So this could be part of your project setup, is when you go through here, you create the Slack channel, you go to the team, get everybody on the team, add everybody from the Slack, from the team into the Slack channel. And you'll see an icon, a little green icon, if they are part of it. If the icon is grayed out, that means they have a Slack member ID, but they are not connected to that channel currently. So it's kind of a neat little indicator that we do have there. All right, so once we have everything connected, we have people set up and ready to go, we are now able to start, creating some Slack conversations. I do see real quick, a couple of questions have popped in here. Okay, oh, it looks like I've already answered the channel's question, so I'll go ahead and close that for now. All right, moving on. So we've set everything up. We got the project connected. Everything looks good. So what we want to do is we want to create a conversation here in Workamajig. So from this project, I can find the conversation section, say, let me create a new conversation. And again, we're going to see some new options here. There's a new checkbox here called send to Slack. So if this project is connected and all is good, you'll see that option appear. And so now what we can do is we can create a new post and say, I don't know what we want to say. We'll just call it our test conversation. I'm not very creative today. I apologize. So we'll have our test conversation, and let's say, how did Team USA do? I know they didn't win their last game, but that's right. All right. So how did they do? I'm going to say send to Slack. So when I check this box, not only does it create the conversation in Workamajig, but it's also going to send this particular conversation as a new Slack conversation as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I just got a bunch of notifications in my computer telling me that all kinds of things have popped up in Slack over there. And you can also see in the conversations here, you can see there's a Slack icon to let you know that, hey, this message was sent to Slack. So now that this has been posted into the Slack channel, if I hop over to Slack, we're going to see there's my conversation, test conversation, how the team do. Great. So now within Slack, of course, you can kind of do whatever Slack does. Now, this is actually an area where we want some more feedback of like, well, now that we can send these conversations to Slack, what is it that you want to do? What is it that this will, benefit you? All that kind of good stuff. If I do open up this conversation and I do also submit a reply to this conversation, I'll say, reply from Workamajig. So I can put some information in here and post a reply. Let me just double check. Was there send to Slack was a default checked. Perfect. So that should have sent it as a reply also in the Slack channel. So you can see, oh, there's a reply. What's that reply? So if somebody replies to that thread in Workamajig, it'll reply to the thread here in the Slack channel as well. Okay, so that's kind of what you can do from Workamajig to Slack. Again, we're looking for feedback. What sounds good? What do you want to do? Let us know. What else you can do though on the Slack side is now that you're in here, you have a couple of commands. So within Slack, I could type in / that opens up kind of the command list. We have / get assignments or / get daily feed this week. Now, these are believe in the December update will become private because you don't want to keep spamming the general chat for everybody. But right now, this does just spam the whole conversation thread here. So let's say with a daily feed this week, I could say, show me what's been going on this week. Let me send that, and it gets a response, and it shows me basically everything that's in the daily feed for the last week. Again, we're not sure kind of how you want to use this, so we just kind of guessed a little bit of some tools here. This will show you a lot of information potentially of a lot of changes, a lot of things could have been done on that project in just the last week. For example, I can see, hey, this task was assigned to this person for 10 hours. So you can see some information of what's going on my projects that I happen to be kind of regulating or looking at through my Slack channels. Another one, of course, is Slack get assignments. When I say get my assignments from Slack, it'll show all the tasks that are actively assigned to me, because we have it all set up and connected, so we know who you are requesting this. So when I click here, I can see, oh, I'm assigned this task, this service. And what you can do, which is really cool, is you can actually click on this task link, the creative task, I called it, and this will open up Workamajig's task assignment screen. So when I click this open, oh, here's my creative task. Now, this is basically what you would see if you were in the Today Creatives page and you were to click on your task card here. So it's a shortcut to this task card, but it's from Slack. So when it opens up this assignment screen here, you have all of kind of what you could do on that project and task through this screen. You do have the ability also to update your task and say, am I done? Marking it 100%. From the More button, I do have the ability to add some time. So I can say, hey, let me add some time while I'm here. I spent a couple of hours on this. So you can do a lot of information and things to do through this assignment card. And again, this is what would have popped up in the Today Creatives had you gone that route. So we're trying to, again, kind of guide you back to using Workamajig by giving you some resourceful information here in the Slack interface. The last command that we have currently working, if I say /post, I can post a conversation back to Workamajig. So I can click on this command, post conversation. Let me back up one step, because before I do that, I want to clarify something here. So when I have post conversation open, you can see you have subject, the title key, and body, both in square brackets. So that way you can populate a subject and a body. If you don't use that, it's only going to populate the subject only. So keep that in mind. So for example, I can say /post conversation, and we'll say, we'll call this from Slack, and do the tilde key, and then another square bracket. And how does it look? So I can post a message back to Workamajig in this format. I get it's successfully posted. Now, if I go back into my Workamajig here, let's take a quick look, view my conversations. We can see, okay, it's from Slack. How does it look? Oh, I see it has the brackets in there. Maybe we don't need the brackets anymore. I'll have to take a look at that. But anyway, we can see that the message came back from Slack to Workamajig utilizing that format. It does have a red icon, and that just lets you know, hey, this message was received from Slack. So that way you can kind of see, hey, was it sent to Slack, from Slack? What's going on here? Currently we don't have it where you can reply to the same conversation that was sent over and have that go back into Workamajig. That's some feedback I think we're looking for, because again, we don't know how people really wanted to utilize this. I've had some users already kind of say, well, maybe they don't want it to go back to Workamajig all the time, because Slack could be a very fast moving conversation channel. And you might say, well, I don't need all of those conversations in Slack in Workamajig, only ones we specifically want to post back, for example. So right now we have it kind of separated until we hear, further feedback from y'all. So that's pretty much the features at the moment. Hope it looks exciting. Hope it looks, something that you could definitely utilize. Again, the goal, of course, is to keep you back in Workamajig, but we also want to give you as much information as you can and utilize, creative tools that help your business, work efficiently as well. And so whatever we can do to make things better, we are here for that. All right. Having said all that, I'm going to open it up to some Q&A here. I see lots of things here in this Q&A channel. I'm going to start from the top and move my way down. Let's see. I'm not going to worry about that one. Okay. Can you create a Slack channel from an opportunity? You know what, Kelly, that's a great question. I do not know the answer. And the one challenge with that is currently, I know, is the Slack channel. If you noticed, the name of the Slack channel has to match the project number exactly. If you change the project number or if you change the Slack channel name, then it kind of breaks the connection of that particular channel. And so you got to kind of correct it to get it back. And knowing opportunities, how they change from being, opti-005 to a full project number of prefix, client ID next number. That's a good question. So that might be something I'll pass over to developers and see if there's a way to do that. Moving on, we got Morgan. Can multiple projects use the same Slack channel, i.e. a campaign with a media and creative project? Good question. I know we've thought or talked a little bit about, what do we want to do with conversations at that level? Currently, this is just for projects only. So again, it sounds like this would be some good feedback to get from you all of what you're trying to do, how you want to see things. I think I even heard like a request of somebody wanting to do a Slack channel per client as well. I don't know what's possible or what is doable, but definitely, I would say follow up with us afterwards. Send an email to support@workamajig.com and just let us know. Hey, I saw that really awesome webinar that Rod put on for the Slack integration. Here's some feedback. Now that we've used it a little bit, here's some feedback of how we would like to be able to use it as well. Do we want to see things again, opportunity level, campaign level, client level? And just let us know what we're trying to accomplish and why. The big question is why. I know sometimes we get all kinds of requests here at Workamajig. I'm going to say every request we get is good, but a lot of times we have to ask the question, well, why is this going to be beneficial? So make sure to include the why or a use case so we can further understand what we're trying to accomplish. Let's see, Lynn asked, does it also send an email in addition to Slack? Great question, Lynn. That's actually going to send an email based on how you already have conversations set up in Workamajig. So for example, in Workamajig, if you add users, so if I click the new conversation button, if you add users here, that's going to send those people an email if that's how you have your system set up. So the short answer is yes. The other side of it, of course, if you're posting a conversation from Slack into Workamajig, does that send emails? The answer would be yes, but again, based on how you have things set up in your system in Workamajig. Because if I'm in Workamajig and I go to my team, in my team, these are the people that I can set up by default to be subscribed to conversations. So if you're subscribed to a conversation here, then when a conversation gets sent from Slack to Workamajig, if you're checked here, then you automatically get added and you can automatically get emailed. So the short answer is yes. Hope that helps answer that question. Let's see, Lynn, that was Lynn. Kelly, let's see, says also, can you link a Workamajig project to an existing Slack channel instead of creating from Workamajig? Sometimes we have a Slack channel to discuss a new business request before the project is open in Workamajig. Yes, I've played around with this a little bit. So what you are able to do, and I don't know if I can demonstrate live here too easily, but what you could do is, let's say in Slack, you've had this channel that's been going on and on and on. And what you want to do is you want to connect the dots. So what I have done and kind of works, again, mileage may vary, but what you could do is you could copy this project number, because again, that's what's gonna connect to. And then in Slack, you could take your existing channel, for example, and you could go to view channel details. There it is. And you could edit the channel name, and paste. Oh, no, that's not it. But you could edit the channel name and you could paste that ID. Let me try one more time. Copy and paste. So if I make the channel name match the project number, it does work. I have done it. I don't know if that's the best route to go, but I have had that work going that route. So, but again, mileage may vary, because I wouldn't really recommend, changing project numbers or Slack channel names. But I did do a test with that and it did work. Let's see, Jay, I love this connection. No, that's great to hear. Appreciate it. Question: if I respond in Slack to a Workamajig conversation, will my reply post to the Workamajig conversation from Slack? So currently, no. Again, that's something that we discussed early on about possibly doing, but we wanted to get some feedback before we really got into getting into really the nuts and bolts of this. So we just wanted to make it, pretty straightforward. Post this here, post that there. Get me my assignments. Let me click back. Let me get back into Workamajig. Again, we don't want to take people out of Workamajig. We understand, of course, this does take you out, but we don't want to keep you out. So, but at the same time, Jay, definitely send us an email saying, hey, it would be great if I could just reply to a, conversation started from Workamajig and have it go back to Workamajig. I would definitely say, just send us that feedback. Thank you, Jay. Let's see, Tammy, do you have to send the entire message to a Slack team, or can you just select individuals? Just choose copywriter, art director, or is it to everyone on the team? Not sure if I understand the question fully. When you send a message from Workamajig to Slack, we're sending it to the Slack channel. I don't know of a way to specify specific people in a Slack channel. Again, those are kind of maybe some of the extended features of Slack that we're not aware of, or how people want to use it yet. So if there is something more detailed, again, what we really want to know is, how do you use Slack and why? Because then that will help us understand better to, integrate further, if you will. Let's see, Lindsay asks, can you demonstrate a reply in Slack to the conversation and how that appears in Workamajig? Similar to some of the above requests. Yeah, you can reply in Slack, but it stays in Slack. The only way you can get a conversation in Slack to go back to Workamajig is to use the command /post conversation. Let's see. Jay said, never mind, you asked to answer the question above. Perfect. Let's see. Anonymous, if we respond to a Slack message in Slack, so a lot of questions on sending messages back to Workamajig from a reply. And unfortunately, no at this time, but it does sound like an overwhelming request. So I will pass along the note as well. But if, again, it sounds better coming from our clients, what they would like the system to do. Aaron asks, is there a private message, or is the message private in Slack when sending a conversation through Slack? Currently, no, I would say. It's whatever you do in that Slack channel, is going to be available to everybody. I mean, again, I'm not fully aware of all of the Slack features and how you could make things private and whatnot. But again, if you can give us a use case of what you're trying to do and why, we can most certainly pass that feedback along. When a project is set to complete, does it archive the Slack channel? Not currently, so that's an interesting question. And talking about the amount of Slack channels, I know if you're on the November update, so if you're doing this currently, and you already have over 100 Slack channels, if you're a Slack user, wait till the December update. because there's a limit right now that we were not aware of, making the integration of, it limits it to 100 Slack channels. So if you create a new Slack channel 101 from a project, it doesn't fully connect right. So wait till the December update if you are a heavy Slack user, I would say. But it does not come, we don't do anything in the Slack channel. We don't do any kind of, archiving or anything like that of the Slack channel. That'd be something on you to do after you close the project in Workamajig. Let's see. Kenyon asks, is there a public roadmap available? Well, that's an interesting question. We don't have anything necessarily public. What we do have is we do have a, in our help guide, we do have a section. We do have a section called Workamajig Labs. And so this is kind of where you can see some things that are in development right now that are still available to test and do some different things with. But, probably a better question to ask that would be maybe at one of our boot camps, because sometimes we talk about, things that are coming up that we're looking for feedback before we even get this far into the system. So, but not really, I guess for the short answer is no, unfortunately. Kenny asked another question, wondering if other info will be posted automatically, like project updates. Not automatically. You would have to do the /get daily feed and kind of see what's going on. But again, if there's something that you feel is, pertinent information to have post over to the Slack channel, I mean, I'm totally game to support whatever helps make this, more of a successful feature. So if there's certain information that you want to see automatic, again, just to kind of tell us why and how that benefits things, and we can always add that feedback to our queue here. Thank you very much. Let's see. So you guys have lots of questions here. This is great. Let's see. Last question from Lindsay. Is there a way for vendors or clients to communicate via the Slack channel when they don't have access to Workamajig? So we can communicate with them in Slack and have a history saved track in Workamajig. Interesting notion. So yeah, if you're using Slack with your clients, that's an interesting question. I mean, you can do whatever you want in the Slack side of things. You can add users to that Slack channel, but then they're going to be able to see project conversations that get sent from Workamajig to Slack. So I don't know visibility wise what you want to really do there, with clients. Plus in Workamajig, you can have, Workamajig, send out conversations to your client specifically. You can say visible to client, and you can add your clients on the to list. So that way you could have them get an email of just this conversation from Workamajig. And then that way, you're kind of doing the control of what the client would see or get through here, where Slack may be very open and again, lots of internal conversations and, who knows, maybe people putting in dad jokes or something like that. So, visibility wise with your client, if you want it to be more professional, that's up to you, how you want to manage that. Let's see. Anonymous asks, can you stop timers via Slack? No, so you can't do, you can't add time from Slack. As I was kind of showing here, you can see your assignment details. You say /get assignments, and when you click on the link here, this will take you back into Workamajig, but it'll take you directly to your assignment card, at which point you can click more new time entry. So if what you're wanting to do is do a timer, potentially we could add, start a timer as an option here in the more button. But right now it just adds a time entry. You can enter a start and end time like a timer would do. But if you want it to actually be a timer, we don't have that through here. So if that's something you'd want to add here, I'm sure we're more than happy to add that. Moving on, we have, let's see, Gianna asking, can Slack be used for the client portal? Interesting question. So are you asking if when you're in the client portal, as the freezer client, when they had a conversation, would there be the option to send a Slack? That's interesting. I have not tried that or thought about that yet. If that's something that you're wanting, that's an even more interesting question, because I don't know if I'd want my clients to know that, that's how we're utilizing things as well. So Gianna, that might be more of a discussion to have of, maybe with your account manager here at Workamajig to say, hey, here's what we're trying to do and why, kind of give us a little bit more info, and we'll kind of take that feedback and see what else we can do with it. Anonymous asks again, can the Slack channels sort by client rather than project number? Yeah, I've heard some requests or things about, the Slack channel numbers, and currently, because if you edit the Slack channel name, it breaks the connection of that particular channel. So we have to have the channel match an identifier in Workamajig, and currently that's the project number. We do have some ideas. Actually, in this December update, we're going to try to pass along the project name in like the topic or description field here. So currently it's not doing that in the November update, but we do hope to have that populate here. So if you're looking for more information, it could populate here. Now that would be, I think, then that might be a request to ask on Slack side and message the Slack development team and say, hey, we would like to be able to sort our Slack channels by topic versus channel name. Maybe you see if they can do that, or if you know of other options to do that, because I've played around with some features and haven't found ways to do that yet, unfortunately. So good question there, though. Let's see now. Megan's asking, visibility of conversations across media and creative is our, you were you're responding to a question above. Appreciate that. What was the question above? I'm scrolling back up now. Can multiple projects have the same Slack channel? Okay, yeah, you were asking about the whole campaign, being able to see all of that together. Yeah, so definitely pass that along as feedback. Again, support@workamajig.com. Those emails go right to your account manager, and then they can either filter that information to me or to our developer team to see what we can do to enhance things further. A couple more questions here, and then we'll start wrapping up. Let's see, Anonymous asks, if it won't log the Slack conversation to Workamajig Live, is there an option to, at the end, to post all? Oh, that's an interesting question. That way, when you close the Slack channel after the project is complete, that conversation is still logged within Workamajig. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting discussion of, hey, we want to, earmark or kind of save, this whole conversation that took place in the Slack channel. Yeah, like a /send all or something like that. I could see maybe something like that. But again, send that feedback to us. Let us know what we're trying to do and why, and we'll definitely see what we can do about that. Can you pull a project burn report into Slack with a feature? So when you're saying burn report, are you talking about that? Let me go back here. Do I have it like the burn chart? You're trying to like see that in, you want to have that in Slack? Because this just opens up basically the allocated hours versus actual hours, how they were spent each week. This is obviously a one task project with not much information, so it just is showing me, yeah, I spent my 10 hours of allocated time and actual 0. So anyway, but you're wanting something like this pulled down into Slack. I mean, we could always do something like that. But again, is it beneficial, and what are we trying to see and why? I guess it's a question. But yeah, I mean, whatever we're looking to do, let us know, and we can always explore that further. Let's see. Anonymous says, you're giving me some info here. Perfect. So to tag a person in Slack, you at their name. So that'd be great. If you did that in Workamajig, tag the person in Slack. Yeah, I know. I always hear a lot about, quote unquote tagging, we do have where you can, kind of put their name up here. If you, type ahead, get their name, and you can add that to the to list up here. He's not on the team, or he's a free user actually. But yeah, that doesn't necessarily connect. So that'd be interesting though. That's one thought is, maybe send a Slack, maybe add an option like, send only to people in the to list or something like that. So, but yeah, definitely give us some feedback on that. And we could always, explore that further. Let's see. Angie asks, I might have missed this. Can you create channels with campaign jobs that contain multiple projects? Yeah, currently not yet. you know. I know, yeah, campaigns have come up a few times already, so that's definitely something that sounds like we need to look into and see if we are able to do that. While I just have us all here, I'm just going to open up my campaign screen. Ignore my funny campaign names or whatever I have here. But I just wanted to just double check. Yeah, so we don't have, there is no like send a Slack at a conversation level on a campaign. So that would be a no at this time, but we could do that if that is something we would need. But again, having it all merge and connect into one channel in Slack, definitely not currently. So I would say definitely let us know what you're trying to do, how you want to use it, what you would expect it to look like. Definitely give us as much info as you can, and we will run with that info. Tarek, you asked about, correct, the actuals versus hours. Yeah, so if you're trying to see more information, that get daily feed, by the way, if somebody were to like enter time on a project, and you say get daily feed, it will say, oh, hey, this person entered that much time. So the get daily feed, I think, is kind of the best thing or best related ask to seeing kind of that burn chart, if you will. But if there's something more specific or you want it presented in a certain way, just let us know. We can always, again, see what is asked. And if we have enough requests that are similar enough, we always, that's what we kind of look for in terms of feedback is, are we getting a lot of the same feedback? Or are we getting lots of feedback, but everything's different? That's when it gets to be a little bit more of a challenge because we're trying to figure out what is it people are actually trying to see or do, Anyway, so, well, I appreciate everybody's time here today. You've given us definitely some good questions here in the end. I know I have a couple of things I'm going to follow up with from it, but at the same time, be sure to email your account manager, let them know your thoughts and feedback as well. That way we can kind of gather them together and submit that to our development team for further review. But if you have any questions with getting this set up, any troubles with that, again, let us know. Same method, just email us and we will help you out as well. But as I wrap up here, I appreciate everybody joining. Thanks again for the great questions there, and hope to see you all in another webinar in the future. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.